Adam Khoo, one of the top 25 richest Singaporeans under 40. An award-winning Singaporean entrepreneur, a best-selling author, and a peak performance trainer. Adam is currently running several businesses in education, training, event management, and advertising, all with a combined annual turnover of $30 million. But few people know that when he was only 12, Adam was expelled from school for misbehavior. He was academically weak and was always the slowest in class. He also had poor social skills, indifferent, and labeled as a problem student. But what transferred a misfit, an underachiever, to a millionaire just at the age of 26? You will get the answers from Adam in our Talk Vietnam show today.
Welcome to this edition of Talk Vietnam. We're very lucky today in our Talk Vietnam to have our guest Adam Khoo here in the studio, and I'm sure we're all very curious to learn more about his secret to success. Hello Adam, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling excited to be here.
Yes, wonderful. Now, as I said, one of the most curious things everyone is probably wondering, how is it that you were able to have, be a millionaire basically by the time you were 26?
It didn't happen by luck or by chance. It's something that I really planned for and I really worked very hard towards. So when I was 15 years old, I read a book that really inspired me a lot, and the book was called Unlimited Power. And the book was about someone who was a janitor who had no education, and he became a millionaire at 24 years old.
Wow.
Right? Anthony Robbins, this guy, right?
Yes.
So I read that book, and I was like so inspired. I said, if this guy can do it at 24, I'm going to do it at 26. And I gave myself 2 more extra years, because in Singapore, you have to go to the army for 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the things that I learned in that book is this: if it's possible for someone, it's possible for you. It's only a question of strategy.
Yes.
So if I said, if someone can do it, why can't I? There must be a way to do it. All right. So at 15, I started a little business, which was a mobile disco company. What I did was, in school, a lot of my friends wanted to go to the discos, but it was too expensive, and they couldn't get in, right? So I created my own disco in my grandmother's house. Initially, I hired a mobile disco company to play the music, and I paid them about $300 a night.
Yes.
But I'll sell tickets to my friends for $5.
$5
each to come for this disco party.
Exactly.
And we had so many people coming from my schools, from other schools. We had up to 200 to 300 people.
Wow, so you start making kind of the profit, the initial
so that was
profits.
like $2,000 a night.
Wow.
I paid a mobile disco company $300. I still made $1,700 a day for a weekend.
And you were like 16?
15 years old.
15, yes.
So I did it every weekend, and slowly I built about $6,000 to $7,000. And with that, I bought my own set of mobile disco equipment. And I started going out there and I conducted parties for people, charging $300 to $400. And that's how I started making money. Later, at about 18 years old, I started trading in the stock markets.
Yes.
So I took all my money, I didn't spend, I saved everything, and started investing in the stock markets. And initially, I lost money like most people. God, you know what I was doing, right? And then I started to get mentors to teach me how to really make money. And in a way, I was very lucky, because during that time, there was this big stock market boom, the dot-com boom in the US.
Yes.
And I bought the stocks like the Yahoos and all those things, and I made 8 to 10 times my money.
Wow.
And in a way, I learned a strategy of how to get out before the crash. So that's how I actually made my first million. And I invested in my first property in Singapore at about 21 years old.
21 years old already,
so
your
by
own
26,
property.
I did it, yeah.
Well, let's go back a little bit to your starting point. You mentioned that first book by Anthony Robbins that gave you like this idea that if he can do it, I can do it too.
Everything is possible.
Everything is possible.
Yeah.
How was school life other than that? I mean, as I know, you weren't that great in school.
No, when I was really young, I was an underachiever. And I was no good in studying. I was no good in maths. I was no good in Chinese. And I found it very difficult to pay attention. So for my major exam, I did very badly. And I was rejected from all 6 high schools that I picked. We were all given 6 choices. I couldn't get into one of them.
Yes.
So in the end, the government sent me to a school which I didn't choose. And it was ranked number 3 in Singapore from the bottom. It was the bottom school, right? And so when you go to a so-called school that's not very good, you mix around with, again, the bad friends. So I mixed around with the gangsters, the hooligans, and I got worse.
I'm curious because I know that that book was a turning point, but was there any other turning point where you felt like you were kind of taking yourself literally out of the gutter and pushing yourself towards this new goal?
Yeah, what really changed my life was I went for a motivational program at 13 years old. It was called Super Teen. It was run by a Malaysian guy. And at that time, my father was on the brink of giving up. He said, I don't know what to do with you. You're hopeless. I don't know what to do, right? So my father heard that there was this camp that changes people's attitudes, that motivates them to study, to teach them how to study. So when I went for this motivational camp, my teacher told me, say, Adam, if you want to change your life, you've got to change your mindset.
Yes.
And through the program, I learned how to change my mindset. And I learned a very powerful technique known as NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is how do you reprogram your mind.
Yes, and Anthony Robbins is
Yes,
also
and it was through the program that I learned about that book. Right? And I started learning all these techniques, super memory, speed reading, mind mapping. So I got really excited. I said, my God, I didn't know all these things existed.
Yes.
So after the camp, I went back to school and I started applying all these techniques. And from the bottom, I became the top in my class.
Wow.
When I started to do very well in school, my friends came up to me and said, what happened to you? How come you're scoring A's? You are failing all the time, right? And one day my teacher came to class. She said, Adam, I've got a 1-hour lesson. But you know what? I want you to teach my lesson for me. And she said, I want you to teach your friends how you are able to memorize everything. So I went in front of the class and I taught my friends all the memory techniques.
Yes.
Right? And they were like, wow. And when my friends started to do well, I felt so great.
Yeah.
And I realized that this was my calling and my purpose was to help people.
From his success and achievements, Adam set up Adam Khoo Learning Technologies Group and 7 other private companies. Over the last 15 years, he has trained over 350,000 students, teachers, professionals, executives, and business owners to tap their personal power and achieve excellence in various fields of endeavor. His success story is regularly featured in regional media like the Straits Times, the Business Times, the New Paper, Lian Zabao, China News Asia, Channel U, Channel 8, News Radio 938, The Hindu, The Malaysian Sun, and many more. In 2008, Adam was awarded the NUS Business School Eminent Alumni Award for being one of Singapore's most successful and prominent business leaders.
Can you kind of elaborate on the learning method? I mean, for students out there, for even professionals working every day, these learning methods, it's always necessary, whether you're a student, whether you're a professional. So can you elaborate on this learning method?
A lot of people, they find they can't learn effectively, they can't memorize effectively, they can't read effectively. So one of the things I learned is that when a student doesn't do well in learning, it's not because they're stupid or slow. It's because their strategy is not effective.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example, right? So we all have a brain, and we've got what we call a left brain and a right brain. Our left brain takes care of logic, analysis, language. Right brain is imagination, creativity, emotions, okay? Now, the school system teaches in a very left brain way, very logical, very mechanical. So people who are very left brain students, they will learn very well.
Yes.
So one of the most powerful things I learned is that we have to learn the left brain subject using the right brain.
Yes.
Using both sides of the brain at the same time. So I started to study using mind maps, colors, pictures, and I love drawing. So suddenly, I started to draw history. I drew geography, and it all went in.
Yes.
Right? To memorize, instead of reading something again and again, I'll create cartoons in my mind. I'll create imagination. I'll associate it. I remember so fast.
Exactly.
And learning became fun. When learning becomes fun, it becomes easy.
You have 15 years of coaching under your belt, or around 350,000 people, both students, professionals, businessmen, learning your courses. Yeah. In those years, are there any stories that kind of stick out? People who, your learning method have helped them in a way that really stuck to you?
I mean, there's so many. If you actually go to my blog, I have put down a lot of the emails they've sent to me over the years.
Yes.
And some of them are very, very, very heartwarming emails, right? I've worked with so many students where their parents gave up on them. Their parents called them stupid. I even had some students who wanted to commit suicide because they said, I'm hopeless. All right? They were bottom of their school. I have students who join gangs. And after the program, their life changed so much that suddenly they wanted to study. You know, I even had cases where a kid hated the parents, refused to talk to the parents because the parents forced him to study.
Yeah.
And after the program, he hugged the parents and said, "I love you, thank you for scolding me." And that felt amazing, right? So I work with those kind of students. So I don't just focus on teaching them how to study. I focus in teaching them how to care for others,
Yes.
how to respect their parents, how to love themselves, how to regain their confidence.
Exactly.
And of course, I also work with a lot of adults. I have had a case of this woman who was very successful, businesswoman. But at 35 years old, she had a stroke. And she went into a coma for 21 days. And when she woke up, half her body was paralyzed. She lost her memory, right? And she couldn't recognize her husband or her children.